What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the NECA Spyro the Dragon from the Spyro series. Here we do have Spyro the Dragon in the packaging. What we're going to do now is take a little break, get him opened up, and then we'll have a better look at the figure inside. So stay tuned, everyone. And so here we have Spyro the Dragon posing out of the packaging. Unfortunately, Spyro here does not come with any accessories. No alternate head, no fire breath accessory, not even sparks. It would have been nice to see sparks as a separate accessory. But as it stands, Spyro here is still a nice looking figure. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at Spyro's details. And so here we have a closer look at Spyro the Dragon, and NECA actually knocked it out of the park. Now, this isn't the Spyro the Dragon from his original PlayStation games. This is actually the Spyro based on the remake. You can tell because he's a lot more polished than what he used to be. He's not all pixelated, polygonal, whatever you want to call it. But they did a really good job capturing the likeness of Spyro here. You can see he has a lot of attitude. One of his brow is higher than the other, which does give him quite an attitude, which it is Spyro the Dragon. Like, looking at it, you can tell that this is Spyro, and I'm really glad NECA was able to encapsulate everything about the figure. So let's actually talk about his detailing, because there's a lot of details here on Spyro. For starters, like I said, he does have his prominent brow, which is done really nicely. You can see that it's sculpted really good. Eyes are wonderfully painted. There's hardly any paint bleeding in Spyro here, so I do like that. They did add a little bit of a dark purple wash throughout some parts of his scales, so that brings out some of the detail. His nose is done really well. You can see they even sculpted his mouth, which is done really good. His horns are, of course, yellow, and surprisingly, they're not soft plastic. They're actually a harder, firmer plastic, so I'm guessing it looks like it's two separate sculpts. We have the head, and then we have his horns. Because it does look like they, again, right here, they're not removable and they don't swivel. And then we have his little back fin right here, which they did a good job painting the main sail yellow and then having like this sunburst orange throughout the, I guess, webbing of his sail, which looks really good. I do like that. You can see they did a good job sculpting the scales on Spyro, not just the big scales that you see right here, but even all these little scales. It's all textured, and I really do like that. In fact, it looks like that his mouth and eyebrows are a separate piece that's glued on, and then his base is sculpted with a lot of scales on it, and you can see it does look really good. Going on to his underbelly, which is painted really well. Whenever they paint yellow over another type of plastic, normally you see some of the paint bleed, which unfortunately, or let me rephrase that, fortunately, you don't see that here on Spyro, so I do like that. That we don't have any thin yellow paint. It looks uniform. And then you can see it's well textured. There's some texturing detail all throughout his belly. Moving on to his body, you can see they continue the bigger scales painted with a darker purple, and then his scales sculpted really good. It does look like he has some scales right here that could be painted, but it's not that big of an issue. I love the way the Spyro came out. It really does take me back to my childhood. You can see his feet are nicely sculpted as well, and he has his nails painted on, which I'm okay with that. They could have easily made those separate pieces, but I don't know why you would want to do that. Wings are done in a yellow plastic, and they do look good. Again, we have that orange sunburst detailing right here, which looks fantastic, honestly. They did a good job just sculpting this figure. He's a really magnificent figure when you look at his sculpting. There's a lot of things that could have gone wrong with this figure, and having the level of articulation that he does is actually impressive, and we'll go on to that in a little bit. But you can see all throughout his back, his scales are all sculpted. Again, we don't have any bleeding on his tail, so love that. All this detailing is well done. We go on to his tail where he has the Spyro, and you can see there's some red paint in the line work. So NECA actually did take the time to paint the red line into his tail, and it just looks really good. Unfortunately on mine you can see right here it doesn't complete the Spyro, but that's perfectly okay because you can always just turn it and problem solved. So overall just a lot of good attention to detail here with Spyro. I just love the way he looks. He has a lot of attitude and the sculpt on him is amazing. So what we're going to do now is actually get him compared to a few other figures you may have in your collection. Here we have Spyro posed next to a Marvel Legends Deadpool and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Spyro posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. So as you can see, Spyro is a little bit on the short side, but he does have horns, and he's quite a longer figure. If you were to compare lengthwise, he's pretty much longer than most figures in your collection. Moving on to Spyro's articulation, this is where I think he excels in. Despite being a quadruped, I can't even speak right now. Despite walking on all fours, he does have a surprising amount of articulation. Starting at his head, he has a really good ball joint. He can look down about that much. He looks up about that much. He can tilt his head side to side, and he has really good head tilt there, as you can see. So really love that. He also does swivel at the neck. You do want to be careful because his back sail or head sail does collide with his wings. So be aware that when you're turning his head, be sure to check where his wings are so that you don't accidentally paint rub on that. I don't know if this is a ball hinge because this does rotate, but I can't get it to move, but it does hinge downward about that far. It does go up about that far. So that in conjunction with his ball joint, you can get him in ramming positions just like you can in the game. So really do like that. Arms are on a ball joint. They would do a full 360. You can see they go all the way around. They go out about that far, which is surprising for a creature that walks on all fours. Really surprised about that. No other articulation in his arm or leg, whatever you want to call it, but he does have ball joint in the foot, so both of his feet are ball jointed, so I do like that. We do have a ball joint in the torso, so it can move side to side, goes up and down a little bit, and does rotate. So really good articulation there. Hips are on ball joints. They do go back. They could do a full 360 if you really wanted them to. They also do go out about that far. Not as far as his front legs, but they do go out quite a way. And then we also do get a ball joint here in the ankle, so it does rotate, go up and down, as well as has some rockers side to side to it. So overall, really good articulation in his feet. He does have a segmented tail with a ball joint right here, which goes down, up, side to side, as well as rotate. We have another ball joint right here, which allows up and down movement, side to side movement, as well as rotation. A third ball joint right here, same thing, up, down, left, right, and as well as rotation. A ball joint right here, so we get that same movement here. And surprisingly, the little spiral on his tail has a ball joint in it, so we get full range of motion there. So surprisingly good articulation, and the final piece I want to talk about are his wings. He actually does have ball hinge wings, so they do flap up and down, and they do rotate, so if you want to have his wings back for ramming positions, you can. If you want to have them up for flying, you can, even though Spyro doesn't fly on his own naturally. But you can get his wings in any position that you want, and I really do like that. So overall, a surprising amount of articulation for such a unique looking figure. So what we're going to do now is actually get Spyro posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have Spyro posed for my final thoughts. Overall, I really love the way this figure came out. The amount of effort that NECA put on this figure is really well done, and he looks just like he does in his remastered video games. Although it would be cool to see a classic Spyro, I think this is the way to go. The amount of detailing on this figure is phenomenal, and the articulation, despite being a dragon who walks on all fours, is really well done, and I do like the amount of paint and detailing that NECA put on this figure. If you are looking for your very own Spyro the Dragon, I have started to see them pop up at Targets right now. He does go for about $30 before tax at Target. I was lucky enough to pick up my Spyro from my local comic book store, so a huge shout out to Black Sheep Comics for getting this figure out to me. I was able to pick up Spyro here for $25 plus tax, which is a pretty good deal seeing as how Target is charging $30 plus tax. If you are lucky enough to find your Spyro or just a fan of the video game, you're going to want to have this guy in your collection. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other NECA figures. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it fits in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. And as always, check out my Instagram for new and exciting action figure photos, and ring that bell notification so you're updated when I upload videos. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.